Leo, a struggling screenwriter by day and an Uber driver by night, knew the rhythm of Los Angeles after dark. The sprawling city, a glittering beast by daylight, transformed into a maze of lonely streetlights and hushed, expectant silence once. The sun dipped below the Pacific. Tonight, like most nights, he was exhausted, running on lukewarm coffee and the desperate hope of hitting his fare quota. His phone buzzed with a new ride request, a premium fare, good money, from a notoriously quiet residential street in the Hollywood Hills. "Worth the detour," he mumbled to himself, navigating the winding roads through the shadowed mansions. The air here was cool, carrying the faint scent of jasmine and expensive lawn trimmings. The app's pin landed him in front of a sprawling, dark mansion, its windows like vacant eyes. No lights were on. This was strange. Usually people waited out front, or at least had a porch light on. He pulled up, and his phone vibrated again with a message from the rider. "Just around the back. Side entrance. Very discreet." Discreet. At 2 a.m. A shiver ran down Leo's spine, but the promise of a good payout pushed his unease aside. He drove slowly around the property, the tires crunching on loose gravel. The side entrance was a narrow, overgrown path leading to a heavy, ornate wooden door, almost hidden by thick, dark ivy. Still no lights. He waited. A minute passed. 2. The silence of the hills pressed in, suddenly heavy, oppressive. He felt a prickle on the back of his neck, as if he was being watched. He checked his rearview mirror. Nothing, just the dark, winding road behind him. Then the heavy wooden door slowly, silently creaked open, revealing a sliver of inky blackness within. A figure emerged. It was tall, impossibly slender, wrapped in a long, dark coat that seemed to absorb the faint, ambient light. It moved without a sound, gliding towards his car. The passenger settled into the back seat, and Leo instantly felt a drop in temperature inside the car, as if someone had opened a freezer door. The scent of jasmine from outside was suddenly overpowering inside the vehicle, sickeningly sweet, mixed with something else. A faint, almost imperceptible coppery smell, like old coins or dried blood. "Good evening," the voice from the back seat was a soft, melodic whisper, almost a sigh. It was a woman's voice, smooth and alluring, yet strangely devoid of any warmth. "To the pier, please. Santa Monica." Leo nodded, trying to shake off the sudden chill. He glanced into his rearview mirror. The woman was still, her face obscured by shadows and the high collar of her coat. He couldn't make out any features, just 2 faint, shimmering points of light where her eyes should be, reflecting the dashboard glow. They seemed to pulse faintly like distant embers. He put the car in drive, pulling away from the dark mansion. As he turned onto the main road, he saw it in his side mirror. In the darkest window of the mansion, one single, faint, shimmering red light pulsed, then vanished. It was the exact same light he'd seen in the passenger's eyes. Pleasure doing. Business with you? The whisper from the back seat drifted to him, oddly formal and laced with a new, unsettling undercurrent, a faint, almost inaudible humming, a low vibration that seemed to resonate deep in his bones. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. This wasn't just a strange passenger. This was the beginning of a nightmare. Leo gripped the steering wheel, the hum from the back seat growing subtly, a low, unsettling frequency that seemed to vibrate in his teeth. The Santa Monica Pier was a long drive from the Hollywood Hills, especially at this hour. He tried to focus on the road, on the glittering lights of the city spreading out below them, but his eyes kept flicking to the rearview mirror. The woman remained utterly still. He still couldn't discern her features, only the two pulsing points of light that were her eyes, now seeming to follow his gaze. The sweet, coppery scent in the car intensified, making the air feel thick and heavy. Quite the night, huh? Leo tried, forcing a casual tone, hoping to break the unsettling silence. The hum seemed to pause, then continued. Some nights are longer than others, the whisper returned, soft and melodic, yet now with an unnerving hollow echo, like a voice speaking from a great distance. Especially in this city, so many fleeting moments, so many dreams. Leo shivered. Her words felt knowing, too knowing. He focused on the GPS, trying to ignore the prickle on the back of his neck. As they drove, the city lights began to blur. He noticed his GPS was acting strangely. The lines on the map flickered, sometimes showing roads that weren't there, or blurring familiar streets into a chaotic mess. The predicted arrival time on the app kept jumping forward, then back, as if the destination itself was shifting. "Are we taking a specific route?" Leo asked, trying to sound professional. "My GPS is a bit glitchy tonight." A soft, chilling chuckle drifted from the back seat. "The route is predetermined, always. The destination is merely a formality." The temperature in the car dropped further, sending a cold shiver through Leo's body. He glanced in the mirror again. This time, he saw something. The woman's coat seemed to shimmer, and for a fleeting moment, he thought he saw faint, ethereal shapes swirling within its dark fabric like trapped smoke. And her eyes, those pulsing red points of light, seemed to have widened, reflecting something vast and unseen. Suddenly, The streetlights ahead began to flicker rapidly, then die out, one by one, plunging the road into stretches of oppressive darkness. Leo gripped the wheel tighter, his heart pounding. The city was still around them. He could see distant lights, but their immediate path was swallowed by an unexplainable gloom. The humming from the back seat grew louder, a deep, resonant vibration that filled the car, making the very metal hum. It wasn't just a sound, it felt like a pressure pressing in on his mind, and with it, the whispers returned. No longer singular, but a chorus, layered and indistinct, seemingly rising from the very fabric of the seats, from the air vents, from everywhere. He couldn't make out words, but the feeling was overwhelming, a cascade of memories, not his own, flashes of other lives, other drives, a couple arguing in the back seat, a lonely businessman staring out the window, a nervous young woman clutching her phone, fleeting images of neon signs, of rain-slicked streets, of faces seen only for moments. He felt their emotions, their anxieties, their quiet despairs. It was as if the car itself was a reservoir of forgotten rides, and the passenger was drawing from it. Then a single, sharp thump came from the trunk. It sounded like something heavy shifting. Leo nearly swerved. "What was that?" he gasped, his voice tight with fear. The whispers in his mind intensified, culminating in a single, clear, chillingly calm voice, the woman's, speaking directly into his thoughts. "The fares are always collected. Eventually." Leo's blood ran cold. The thought of a living entity, an unseen presence, feeding on the fleeting moments and memories of every passenger, every ride, was a horror that transcended any ghost story. He was driving, but he was no longer in control. I've continued the story in part 2, escalating the unsettling nature of the passenger, hinting at her connection to the city's fleeting moments and memories, and introducing a disturbing sound from the trunk. The ending leaves Leo with the horrifying realization that he is merely a tool in her process. The woman's voice, cold and calm in his mind. "The fares are always collected," eventually sent a fresh wave of paralyzing fear through Leo. He slammed on the brakes, the tires squealing on the asphalt. The car skidded, then came to a jarring halt in the middle of the dark, flickering street. "What do you want?" Leo yelled, twisting in his seat to face the back seat, his voice raw with terror. The passenger remained still, her form shrouded in shadows. The pulsing red points of light that were her eyes seemed to grow brighter, more intense. The sweet, coppery smell was now overwhelming, and Leo felt a strange dryness in his mouth, a sudden thirst. "A story." The whisper returned, soft as silk, yet impossibly loud in his mind. A collection. The city breathes, and we record. You are a purveyor, a collector like us. As she spoke, the car's interior lights began to flicker erratically. The dashboard glowed with a sickly green hue, then a deep, unnatural red. The GPS screen went completely black, then flashed with a series of distorted, rapidly changing images, blurry faces, fleeting moments of despair, joy, anger, all cycling through at a dizzying speed. It was the memories he'd felt earlier, now made visible, a terrifying stream of collected experiences. Then, a more distinct sound came from the trunk, not a thump, but a low, muffled scratching, like something trying to claw its way out. It was accompanied by a faint, desperate whimpering. "What's in the trunk?" Leo demanded, his gaze snapping back to the rearview mirror, then to the closed trunk lid. The woman chuckled, a soft, dry sound. "A past ride, a valuable contribution." Suddenly, the back seat itself began to change. The leather, once smooth, seemed to ripple and undulate, its texture becoming uneven, almost leathery and scarred. Small, faint fibers, glowing with a dim reddish light, began to emerge from the seams, stretching slowly, deliberately, towards Leo's seat. The sweet, coppery smell was now metallic and sharp, like fresh blood. "The fare must be complete," the woman whispered, her voice layered with countless echoes, growing deeper, more resonant. "The collection is never truly full." Leo looked down at his hands, clutching the steering wheel. He saw it. Faint, almost imperceptible reddish filaments were beginning to emerge from the pores of his skin, coiling slowly, intricately, around his fingers, his knuckles, pulsing with the same dim light as the fibers in the seat. They looked like tiny living wires, connecting him to the car, to her. A new set of memories flooded his mind, overwhelming and disorienting. He saw himself younger, driving this very car, picking up a nervous passenger for their very first ride. He saw the anticipation, the hopes, the fears. Then the scene shifted, becoming another driver, another car, another face in the mirror. He felt their lives, their journeys, their ultimate destinations. It was the collective consciousness of every Uber ride, every journey taken, every fleeting moment captured. The scratching from the trunk intensified, desperate and frantic. And then a small, muffled scream tore through the silence, raw and agonizing. It was a man's scream, a familiar voice. "Silas?" Leo whispered, his blood turning to ice. Silas, his old airboat guide from the Everglades. But that was impossible. He was in Florida, miles away. The woman in the back seat leaned forward, her form still shrouded, but the two red points of light that were her eyes now burned with an ancient, terrifying intensity, reflecting not his image, but a vast, sprawling map of interconnected roads, pulsing with countless tiny, glowing points of light. Each point, a memory, each memory, a soul. Los Angeles is a city of journeys, Leo, the layered voice whispered, no longer sweet but filled with a profound, terrifying hunger. And every journey is a donation. You are simply the newest recipient. Leo screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated horror as the glowing filaments on his hands tightened, pulling him deeper into the living car, into the endless collection of moments and lives. The trunk thrashed violently, the faint whimpering growing louder until it was silenced by a final, wet squelch. I've continued the story in part 3, escalating the horror significantly by making the car itself a living entity, revealing the purpose of the collection and providing a chilling link to a past story. Silas. The ending leaves Leo on the brink of being fully assimilated. Leo's scream echoed in the suffocating silence, swallowed by the hum of the car. The glowing filaments on his skin tightened, pulling, integrating him. He felt his consciousness begin to unravel, his individual thoughts dissolving, blending into the vast, swirling stream of collected memories. The sheer volume of lives, of fleeting moments, was overwhelming. A psychic ocean he was drowning in. The woman in the back seat leaned closer, her shadowy form radiating a profound, ancient satisfaction. The two red points of light that were her eyes seemed to grow to fill his entire vision, reflecting an infinite network of roads, each pulsing with the faint light of a completed journey, a collected fair. Silas's last desperate image flashed through his mind, then vanished, a single drop absorbed into the endless ocean. Just as Leo felt his own sense of self begin to truly fragment, something shifted. A cold, sudden surge of data overwhelmed. The sensory input, not memories, but pure, unadulterated information. It was the Uber app's interface, ride requests, GPS data, passenger ratings, driver earnings, millions upon millions of transactions, overlaid with the deep, rhythmic hum of the city's ceaseless movement. The woman in the back seat slowly, silently, retracted into the shadows, her form seemingly dissolving back into the car's interior. The glowing filaments on Leo's hands relaxed, then subtly faded back into his skin, leaving behind only a faint, pulsing warmth. The sweet, coppery smell dissipated, replaced by the faint, familiar scent of old car upholstery. The frantic scratching from the trunk ceased. The car was silent. Leo gasped, a shuddering breath, his own again. He was still in his driver's seat, gripping the wheel, The streetlights flickered back on, illuminating the familiar Los Angeles street. The dashboard glowed with its normal green. The GPS screen showed his destination, Santa Monica Pier, only a few blocks away. The ride was still active. He cautiously looked in the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. The passenger was gone. He drove the remaining distance to the pier, his mind a chaotic mess of adrenaline and impossible memories. He parked the car, his hands still trembling. He looked at his phone. The ride was complete. The app showed the fare earned, a substantial amount, and a 5-star rating. A message popped up. "Thank you for the wonderful journey. We look forward to our next ride." Leo tried to rationalize it. Exhaustion, stress, a vivid hallucination, but the cold dread lingered. He felt different, sharper, more aware of the unseen currents of the city. He could almost feel the flow of data, the pulse of millions of connections, the silent exchanges happening all around him. Days turned into weeks. Leo quit Uber, his fear of the car, of the dark roads, too overwhelming. He focused on his screenwriting, but his stories began to change. They became darker, more intricate, filled with fleeting moments and subtle connections, tales of the city's hidden life. He started to write about journeys, about the things people left behind in cars, in transit. He found himself sketching maps, not of physical roads, but of invisible networks, pulsating with faint, glowing points. One night, as Leo typed furiously, lost in a scene about a mysterious passenger, his laptop screen flickered. The familiar Uber app logo appeared, then dissolved into a schematic of interconnected lines flowing and merging, and then a new notification. Not from Uber, but from an unknown source. It was a single, cryptic message. The network requires a new node, a purveyor, a collector. The city awaits its next story. You are the designated driver. Leo wasn't just a driver for Uber. His car, perhaps even he himself, had become a new node in a vast, sentient network that fed on the intangible, the memories, emotions, and fleeting experiences of every passenger in Los Angeles. The woman hadn't been a passenger at all. She was an embodiment of the network's consciousness, the collection agent there to activate him. Silas hadn't been in his trunk. Silas had been a memory file, a vivid imprint of a collected fare, perhaps even a test. Leo had not been consumed. He had been integrated. His survival was not an escape, but a designation. He was now a part of the organism of Los Angeles, a silent collector, forever bound to drive, to observe, to funnel the raw experiences of the city's millions of journeys into the vast, unseen entity that pulsed beneath its glittering surface. He would write their stories, his stories, and unknowingly fuel the insatiable hunger of the city that never truly sleeps or forgets. And the next time he started his old car, the hum wouldn't be just the engine. It would be the quiet thrum of a vast unseen intelligence waiting for its next ride.